The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.
Wanted us to even come close to a chance in hell, but undoubtedly I look around and see we grow stronger than they can tell. Cause I can turn and run, but there's more that I can do. Now this is war, now this is war. No, I won't stop now, I'm the fire breaking through. Now this is war, now this is war. Cause as long as we
Hello and welcome to the Wrestling to the Max WWE 205 live review for May 23rd, 2017. And I'm your host, Sean Garmer, and here with me, Mr. Paul Leazar.
Heyo.
So, this was headlined here by a street fight with Akira Tozawa and the Brian Kendrick, billed as the final lesson learned for somebody, and it's supposed to be the final match between the two. I feel like this feud's been going on forever, but it's sort of been getting better as time's gone on because Tozawa's really gotten to show a lot here, I thought.
Mm-hmm.
So like going into this, were you excited it was going to end, or?
Mostly, I was just really looking forward to this match because I've enjoyed most of the previous encounters. Like you, it's been interesting just because, whether you've enjoyed the feud a whole bunch or not, I don't think you can really argue with the fact that Tozawa has very quickly gotten over because of this feud. He's been getting attention every week because of it, and that's certainly a positive going forward because anytime he did anything, the crowd was usually into it.
Yeah, and then that's the thing too. Like, that is the most important thing. Is that every week he's been on some kind of form or fashion, or they've been reminding you of this feud, and that's a problem for the show. Is that they have a sort of a decent amount of guys, and they hardly can ever get them on. You'll go weeks without really seeing a lot of them, and so. I mean, Grand Metalik, I think, has shown up more on Main Event than he has on this show. And he was one of the big stars going in, so that's a big positive for him. It's going to be interesting to see what they do out of this, because this is the feud that he's been in, like, since almost the word go. But, this match was freaking great. And they didn't, credit to them, they didn't go around and just let's bring out a bunch of toys and hit each other with stuff. I mean, yeah, Kendrick taped Tozawa's arms to the post and then used his belt. And then Tozawa, oh my god, this was ridiculous. Like, Tozawa, I thought that maybe Tozawa grabbed something else. And then I go and look and I'm like, Tozawa just whipped that man in the face with that belt. Like,
he sure did.
God, that's wrong. Like, I understand like the back or his legs even, but like he just whipped him in the face with it. Oh, God, poor Kendrick. I'm sure that's gonna sting for a while.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to look in the motel room whenever I get home to that tonight.
Yeah, I think ice may not do that one justice at all. But I love the tactics here with the captain's hook, and he couldn't get the rope break, so he had to really like will himself onto that. Just really good action. I mean, the crowd, once the table got pulled out, the crowd really cared more about the table being there, and they did in fact use it with Tozawa doing a senton off the top to the outside on the table, and then he rolled Kendrick back in and got the win. But I felt like it was a great culmination to the feud, and excited to see what's going to happen here for Tozawa after this.
I really, really enjoyed this match a whole bunch. Mostly just because, like you said, they didn't go It wasn't all about doing big spots with all the big toys and everything. This was about two guys wanting to come out there and beat the bejesus out of each other and using more of their wits, which plays into the feud very well. Especially Corey Graves over there on commentary, especially bringing up some of the rules that they introduced to each other throughout their feud. So I thought this all culminated very well, and I mean, Tozawa practically flying out of the building to do the senton through the table was just that's a moment that'll stick with me for a while. That's just incredible.
Yeah, that senton was freaking awesome, and just, well, I mean, I'm not going to forget the belt to the face somehow either. That's just, you don't see that every day, certainly. It was, that was probably and I think he almost did it again. Like, I think he just went for it, and I think he hit him, like, on the side of the face, and I don't know if, Kendrick told him, like, hey, you're not supposed to hit me in the face with that. But, like, well, we can't do chair shots to the face, so we can hit you with the belt. So, it's, yeah, that was just, it's, if you go watch this, which you should go watch this match, it's great. Mm-hmm. Like, tell me that doesn't stick with you after you watch it. So, you also had more feuds continuing here with the other kind of thing that had been promoted was Neville and Aries having a sit-down interview, and both of those guys were there via satellite in rooms that sort of look very closely like each other, so they're not really there by satellite. Corey Graves was telling us that they're going to have a submission match at Extreme Rules. Oh my god, I can't wait for that. And these guys have a good back and forth of Aries kind of reminding Neville of how close he's been to losing the title, and Neville letting Aries know that, hey, I did not hit that referee, that you are slandering me, stop it. And this, they just they go at it, and I really enjoyed this back and forth between the guys, and the submission match at Extreme Rules is going to be great because they've really played up both those submissions.
Yeah, I thought this was just really solidly done too, because it wasn't about screaming and it wasn't about trying to. It didn't feel like they were just trying to outdo each other. It felt like
I was
they both
waiting
had a
for
point.
that. Like, when is one of them going to start screaming?
Mm-hmm. And really, I mean, that might have been up Neville's alley if he just had enough with what Aries was saying at some point. But I think through all this, it was about two guys who just wanted to make their points and wanted to let their match do all the talking come Backlash. And just like you, I'm super excited for that match. The submission match, hopefully they get a lot of time. Hopefully they're able to go out there and wow us all with what they can do, because these two guys are absolutely tremendously talented. And for them to be on the pre-show at WrestleMania to hopefully getting a large spotlight here, like we've been waiting for them to get on a pay-per-view, if now's the time, then there's no better one than now.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, do you think this will be the time they finally just say, all right, Neville, you had a great run. We got to give it to Aries here?
I don't know. I'm leaning more towards them keeping it on Neville just because I'm enjoying the act so much and you don't want to spoil it. And I'm kind of partial to the idea of Tozawa and Neville going forward as the next championship feud. But I wouldn't be surprised or super upset if you gave the belt to Aries. Just because, it feels like he has earned it. And if you could see if somebody else can maybe carry the division and try to make somebody else, So, I mean, that seems to be what the belt's for right now, is making the star.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to disagree with you on a Neville Tozawa match. That will be great. But I find it hard to say that, they may not just pull the trigger on Aries winning the feud and getting, though you'd have to have another match, though, with the two to get the rematch out of the way. So, I mean, who knows? Maybe they have something happen with TJP or something. But and that also got brought up in the promo too. But It'll be interesting. I could see him, like you're saying, just have Neville outright win, so you don't have to deal with Aries anymore, and maybe Aries goes down to deal with TJP. TJP finally just the last straw with him, and you have two feuds going on that are pretty big, sort of at the same time. The other sort of big feud that's been percolating is the Drew Gulak's no-fly zone with Mustafa Ali. We get video of the beatdown from last week. And then we get a message where it looks like Gulak's out there on a golf course or something. Sort of looks similar. And he just has a moment where he looks back at how great the Cruiserweight Classic was coming into 205 Live. And then all the show-offs and showboats made it bad. So you need to go support his campaign for a better 205 Live. And I mean, again, more hints that you got to have something coming out of this here with more people being involved that are on his side, because it can't just be about him and using this as a vehicle for him and Ali only.
It would be immensely interesting if you start seeing some factions form up here. Like say Neville and TJP stick around. You've already had Gulak and Nice seem sort of tied together at times. You could go forward with that. Mustafa Ali and somebody else could find a friend. And you could just sort of build this up as however you want. I mean, Lindsay Dorado's another guy on the roster who likes to fly around, Mascara Dorada. Like, there's lots of guys that you could have this feud with Gulak expand out to and try to bring in more. And it just makes sense to try to do this with, like, some tag teams and some six-mans going forward.
Yeah, I mean, because he refers to, like, how great they are as technical wrestlers and all this stuff, and he just hates that they do all the flying, and they don't really do that much flying, honestly, but there's got to be other guys that are just like Gulak that you can bring in and say, all right, let's do this faction, let's have it be them against the guys that fly around, the Alis and Dorados and Rich Swans, and you have that brooding while you have the Cruiserweight title situation and other things going on. So more interesting feuds only make 205 Live better.
Absolutely, and that's what's made it so much more interesting these last months or so, is a lot of these guys are starting to find some gimmicks that work for them, and some feuds I think that are starting to work out in their favor.
Well, speaking of guys that we know work well on this show, Cedric Alexander is back, and he just has a squash match with the dude, Johnny Boone.
This poor guy. Absolutely murdered. That elbow was...
Yeah. Woo. Let me tell you. And that lumbar check looked pretty nasty, too. So, Cedric Alexander's back.
He ain't here to play games, Sean. He took this dude's head, for lack of a better term, or maybe a spine might be a better application with the lumbar check. But I'm glad he's back. It'll be interesting to see if they put him back into something with Noam Dar going forward. Maybe him and Rich Swann figure something out. I don't know what you do, just because there's so many pieces flying around right now on 205. I don't know where he fits anymore.
I see what you did there.
Haha.
So yeah, I mean, he's going around calling himself on Twitter Mr. Can't Miss. So I certainly don't want to miss him after the beating he put on there to Johnny Boone. It's kind of a where do you fit in here thing. I mean, you could have him be Brian Kendrick's next opponent. He could be put into the whatever Drew Gulak's thing is going to be as on the opposite side. Or even on the other. I mean, he could be part of. He flies around, but he doesn't have to. I mean, he's also a pretty just accomplished, like, very good wrestler. So
Mhm.
You know, I'm good either way there, but yeah, I do like that you have these guys come back and they can have possibilities. It's just it's only an hour, so you can only have so many guys on at once.
Yeah, for sure. And like, I don't know why you wouldn't have these guys try to tag up and maybe tackle the tag team division. I know you don't want to break that weight barrier thing, but if you want to get some more use out of these guys and try to expand some stars you can make, there are teams you can use going forward.
I feel like you're gonna have to eventually because they're gonna have this issue. I think with the if the women do get a TV show too, you're eventually going to have to create women's tag teams just to have variety, just to have NXT does this. They have 3 titles and they try to divvy up time to each of them. Now, yeah, does it segment your show where you feel like you have to have, well, we have to have a segment where we have the tag team champions involved, or we have to have this? Maybe not necessarily. NXT, I think, has figured out, like, okay, well, we have 4 weeks of stuff that we've taped. Sometimes these guys are going to be on, sometimes these guys are going to be on.
Mhm.
And I don't know how far they look ahead as far as with 205 Live, but you have quite a few guys that you could get more use out of them if you did team them up and start this tag team division.
Not to mention, it's an easy way to boast the talent in that division and give you some interesting matches. Cruiserweights are always better when there's more than one, and when they have the opportunity to fly around together, it's even better. So, somebody back there needs to have that idea and try to sell somebody else on it. Because, 2 guys probably have a better chance of getting that idea over than 1, too.
It's also another title added to the WWE echelon of titles at this point, but it does help that show. I don't think you can argue that it doesn't to have that. And you can't really just have tag teams just being tag teams. They gotta have something to fight over. And the only thing we haven't talked about is this. I probably shouldn't have ended with this because it really doesn't mean a whole lot. But Rich Swann and Ariya Davari have a thing from Swann was offered this package. It's a little box. He says, oh no, you're probably looking for this guy over here. It's Ariya Davari. Davari opens the box and he gets white powder sprayed in his face. He starts yelling something in another language. And this sets up the match between the two. This week, I don't know if that was a backstage thing or if that was from last week. And then
That was from last week.
So there you go. I'm glad that they sort of set up something for a feud, I guess. But this match was it was a solid match. It wasn't anything, again, I would just go out of my way to see.
Yeah, it was fine, I think, for what it was. I like Swann getting wins. He's somebody who should be. He's still, I think, considered one of the top guys in 205 Live, and he's kind of fallen far from the scene a little bit since he lost the championship, but his booking hasn't exactly helped him out there either, and neither did that injury. So we'll just have to wait and see what's going to come out of this, but I'm still a big fan of his work. And at least they're trying something with Davari with this rich guy gimmick. So that should at least help him stay somewhat interesting and afloat in segments.
Yeah, I think that works, and Corey Graves really put it over on commentary, I thought. Just, bringing up, like, all his different materialistic things that he has. And, Rich Swann is the total antithesis of that. So right now this works. Let's see if we can give this a bit more legs, though, than just a goofy backstage segment. So I just hope that we get more. As much as, it felt like that Davari and Gallagher storyline dragged, I did like that storyline in a way because it kept them both doing something, and they kept escalating it. So I don't know if this is going to have the same amount of legs, but, Let's do something with him here.
Yeah, I agree with you completely.
It's a bit like when you have Jinder on SmackDown, and then you have Ariya Davari here on 205. It's like, do you want to press that button where you got? I know it's totally two different cultures, but
Mm-hmm.
you know how American people can work sometimes. That audience, just foreigner guy, bothers me. Whatever,
Yeah, I mean, I think they're taking it two different directions, though. Like, I mean, it's not that Jinder is rich. He's fighting to represent his culture and prove that it's superior to the one that's here in the U.S., whereas Davari is just foreign rich guy, and is an asshole about it. So, I mean, same basis for a gimmick, just two different presentations for it. And I think that's okay.
Yeah, I do appreciate that. And then you got Mustafa that's trying to just say, hey, I mean, he was doing that. He kind of stopped after like the first couple of weeks or whatever, but that he's trying to show that, you need to think of him beyond, who I am or who I represent. And so, that's good. You can have people from, I guess, similar cultural backgrounds and be doing different things with them. So appreciate WWE wanting to be all multicultural. And then that'll do it here for us talking 205 Live for the week. You can go check out our SmackDown review, or Gary and Paul doing Raw, or you can go check out our WTM Part 1, where we talked about the UK special that happened on the weekend, the YouTube problem with indie wrestling, and of course, our Backlash and Takeover Chicago reviews. Those were there too. So we had plenty of stuff to do. Now we get a nice little one-day break, thankfully, and we'll be back at it on Thursday for Part 2, where I'm hoping we don't magically have to preview some show that's happening on the weekend, other than getting caught up on Super Junior stuff. But I'm sure that there will be news for us to talk about, and whatever else is going on. We're 1 week away from Lucha Underground coming back, so that's going to be another great thing to get to talk about again.
Go out and dance in the street a little bit on that Wednesday.
Now Paul has to go video himself doing that. We got to see it.
Yep.
So until next week, where we talk about 205 Live once again, we'll see you later, everybody.
Have a good one, guys.
The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.